These past few weeks, I've been really tired in the afternoons. It doesn't usually happen on school days, but anytime like a weekend rolls around and I have a lot of free time, I get my work done in the morning, and by the time the afternoon comes, I'm just really tired. And sometimes going for a walk can fix it, but there's definitely an issue here that I need to resolve. I can't just keep being tired in the afternoons. It seemed that the more time I spent on passive leisure, such as going on YouTube, playing games on my phone, or just going on social media, the more tired I was. And the more time I spent on active leisure, like learning a new skill like a coding language or building a system on Notion or doing something outside with friends, I was more energetic. And when I listened to David Perel's podcast episode called The Paradox of Abundance, I realized that my issue wasn't really that I had little energy. There was something that was causing this that I needed to address. And that was just the abundance of information that I was taking in. Take, for example, America. 40% of people are obese. That's a lot. And that's an issue of overabundance. Way too many unhealthy foods in our food economy. So I probably have a similar issue with information. I'm taking in too much information that it's just sucking out my energy. I need to get away from it. And when I was going through this issue, I kept going back to a book I read last year, Newport's Digital Minimalism. You probably know Cal from his book Deep Work. This was a book on a similar topic, specifically how we interact with technology and how we need to be intentional. Cal recommends we take about a 30-day detox from digital media. And I've tried that before, and I failed multiple times at actually going through that full 30 days. And maybe that's just a problem with my discipline, but I want to attack this with a renewed vigor and a new way to make sure that this works for me. But first, let's talk about why information abundance is sucking away my energy. It all starts with the attention economy. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media comes with a price, and that price is your attention. This is the attention economy, and its origins go back to 1830. You see, up until 1830, newspapers made the majority of their money from the consumers, the people who bought the newspapers. But Benjamin Day revolutionized this paradigm. Instead of using the consumers as the main source of income, he used advertisers. Consumers went from being the customers to being the product. In 1830, he launched a new newspaper called the New York Sun. He charged very little for this newspaper and would get the majority of his money from advertisers who put their ads in the. This shifts the goal of the newspaper. It still wants many people consuming its paper, but that's not the main source of income. Now, the way it makes money is by taking as much of the consumer's time as possible. That's how they make money. That's why advertisers want to put their ads in the paper. This is the system that social media networks work within, but it's a lot different today. We are constantly plugged into the attention economy. In fact, we are always carrying the attention economy with us. We don't want to go away from it. Your phone, it keeps you constantly plugged into it. It's out of control. I estimate that I spend up to about 50% of my waking hours engaged in the attention economy. It may be more than that. And to be fair to social media companies, they're brilliant. Newport calls social media the new fast food. It's a highly processed program that exploits our evolutionary needs for social approval, just like fast food exploits our needs for sugar and fat. This isn't good. Technology distracts us from ourselves. It distracts us from our own thought processes. We are constantly bombarded by inputs from people across the world. It's very hard to unplug. And it's this dynamic that caused Newport to look for a new definition of solitude. He found one from Raymond Kethledge and Michael Irwin, who say that solitude isn't being alone and away from other people. Solitude is a state in which your mind is free from the input of others. Newport also had some great ideas about leisure. He argues for a more structured form of leisure so that you're not just constantly doom scrolling your day away. And his message resonated with my problem, that I didn't have enough energy although I wasn't really doing anything demanding. He talks about the Bennett principle, which states that the more energy you expend in your leisure, the more energy you have. And he gives that one simple suggestion for how to have high energy with high energy leisure. Fix or build something every week. And as someone who likes to call himself a systems architect, this really resonated with me. And the way he defines build isn't necessarily like you have to build something, like be creative. It can just like be building your own knowledge about a skill. As long as you're expending energy to like actually create something or advance something, that's building. Learn to play an instrument, garden, build a new knowledge management system on Notion. All these are great ideas to really expend a lot of energy and leisure and then thus have a lot more energy. It can be anything, as long as you're creating. Build or fix, remember that. I'm frustrated with how I've been living passively and just constantly consuming from the attention economy. I need to be intentional. However, I also don't want to give up all my use of digital media. I like watching Netflix shows and YouTube. I don't want to just give it up, but I need to be more. The amount I learn from YouTube is more than most books. That said, I am still overloaded with information. If I look at any book on my bookshelf, I can likely tell you what it said. But if you show me my YouTube watch history, I don't really remember what those videos were about. The more time you spend engaging per unit of information, the better you're going to remember it. And that's why I can remember my books, but I don't remember those YouTube videos that are pretty short and snappy. In some podcasts with Naval Ravikant, he advocates that reading is not something you should just sit down and go through a whole book at once. You need to read a page and think. It's the thinking that's really going to help you change your life. The other day I was reading some Emerson and I literally read probably 4 sentences and I spent 30 minutes thinking about it. I remember that a lot better than I remember some other book where I just glided past the points. It's really the thinking that is better than the reading. With an abundance of information, passive consumers don't come out on top. It's those who are intentional with their consumption and production that thrive. That's why I'm going to start tracking my time this week. I don't want to set strict barriers on when I can use social media and when I have to get off. I just want to become cognizant of how much time I'm spending on these platforms and then use that information to change my behavior. I also recognize that just by tracking my time, I'm going to be more intentional with it. The goal isn't to increase my productivity or only consume content that's productive. It's to reclaim my energy and be a little more active in the world that wants me to be passive. I'll check in a few weeks and I'll let you guys know how it's going. If this video provided you any value, please leave a like. I hope it gave you inspiration to be more intentional with how you consume media. Thanks.